Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Aris Mining's channel, operating one of the world's highest grade gold mines in Colombia. Joining us, we have the privilege of Tyron, the Senior Vice President, who's going to give us some in-depth knowledge and insight into the investor presentation today. First and foremost, welcome, sir.
Thanks. It's good to be back.
And always a pleasure to get you back. So first and foremost, just diving into this, do you want to give the viewers a brief overview of the project itself and kind of just the general mines we're going to be diving down into in your operations?
Sure thing. So we're focused on Latin America. We have a lot of gold, so we don't need to take exploration risk, which a lot of our competitor companies do need to do. So we have 25 million ounces. Most of that is in Colombia, and we've recently diversified into Guyana. So if we zoom into Colombia on the next slide here, the point I wanted to make is that our two producing mines, Segovia and Marmato, are actually located in historically mining-friendly areas. Most of the economies in these regions are involved in mining in some way or another. Segovia has been around for 100 years, so these are established places. We're not taking big country risk there. Soto Norte is probably our biggest asset by value. It's in a developing camp, so we need to take the social license we've earned at places like Segovia and apply it to Soto Norte. So diving right into Segovia, it's a remarkable asset. It's been around for 100 years, over 6 million ounces produced. What's interesting about Segovia is it's very high grade, over 14 grams. When you have a high grade mine like that, it's tough not to make money. So it's been our cash cow. We've been incrementally expanding the plant, and this is our cash flow machine that's going to drive our growth at some of our development heavy portfolio. So we're mining underground, feeding a central mill, and we recently expanded the mill. And as you flip to the next slide there, you can see it's been pretty stable, right? The operating margin's been there for 4 or 5 years now. It is high grade and nuggety, so you do need to drill it pretty closely, but this has been a very reliable producer for us. The only pushback we get is on the upside. Are we going to be here in 10 years' time? And I would point to this slide here, slide 9, that shows there are 30 veins on the property. We're mining at 4 vein areas right now. So there's a lot of gold outside the mine plan that we've yet to get to. And then I just want to touch on our formalization effort. So there's a lot of informal mining in Colombia. There's hundreds of thousands of these guys countrywide. We have sort of written the book on how to embrace them, bring them into our operation. They sign on to our environmental standards, and we actually buy their gold, process it through our mill, and contain the effluent. So we have about 60 of these agreements, and they accounted for about 15% of our production last year.
I appreciate those insights, and hopefully I'm not skimming through too fast and the audience can keep up. What about the Marmato here? We'll skim through just some of these other projects as well.
Sure thing. So Marmato is our second producer. This is a small mine right now. So if you look at this slide, very important slide, we're in the upper mine. This is a set of veins. They're narrow. We're mining them and producing around 30,000 ounces, okay? That's almost irrelevant. Why are we here? It's for that big, juicy porphyry that's feeding the epithermal vein system. We're amending our permit. We're going to go underground, and we're going to build a big, mechanized, safe, and productive mine. And that's what turns Marmato into another 200,000 ounce a year producer. So once Marmato's online, in 18 to 24 months, Segovia and Marmato together are producing 400,000 ounces a year. And this is why we can scale up so quickly.
That's incredible.
And the next slide, yeah, so the number I draw your eye to here is capital, right? So the pre-production CapEx is around 270 million, okay? That is easily funded from our 612 million balance sheet. So consider our next growth project is fully funded. Another outdated number is the reserve. So the last estimate had 2 million ounces in the reserve and a 13-year mine life. We've done a lot of drilling, and I would be surprised if when we update this, which will be our next catalyst later this month, we're probably going to see that mine life go to 20 years. So 2 stable assets that are going to be around for decades.
Incredible to hear. What about the Soto Norte here?
So Soto Norte is not in production. This asset is potentially the crown jewel of the company. It is a beast. That long section over there with all of the red and the purple, that is basically a solid nugget of resource. So it's 12 million ounces on that long section. You're looking at an average grade of around 8 to 9 grams gold equivalent. And when it's in production, it will be one of the lowest cost mines out there. The trick is getting it permitted. So we are currently a joint venture partner, earning into 50%. Our partner is one of the most deep-pocketed investment funds on the planet. It's Mubadala out of United Arab Emirates. So they're a great partner to have as we move forward down the permitting track. And remember, we already have a social license in Colombia, so we are the right group to permit this.
Great to hear. What about some of the history behind this one?
Yeah, I think the history is important. Your audience might remember a little penny stock called Ventana. This is a 10-cent stock that went to $13. Okay, it went to $13 because they found Soto Norte. Through a series of transactions, the former owner landed in hot water with the authorities, went to jail, and then Mubadala assumed ownership. They are not a mining entity. They needed a partner, and they chose us because we have a track record in Colombia. We've built mines all over the world. So we think it's a coup that we were able to get control of this asset. But I think that history is important because on its own, this asset had a $1.5 billion market cap. It attracted $2 billion in funding from Mubadala. So it's an exciting asset that the sector's forgot about, and we're bringing it back to prominence.
Great to hear. You mentioned a little bit, but is there any more with the financing and sustainability focused design here?
Yeah, I would just go to the next slide there. And what's unique about this ore body is the mine is underground, okay? Because it's next to a sensitive area. The green area is a national park. We're not in the park, but we're close by. So we're coming in from an access tunnel 6 kilometers away. Not only are we mining underground, but we're putting the primary crusher underground. That's the single biggest thing you see when you visit a mine. All of the transport network is underground. So no dust, no noise, no vibration. It's about as environmentally benign as you can build a mine. It's expensive, but we can do this because the grade is so hot and it's such a rich deposit. So we're taking a clean, low impact footprint to our design approach, and then we're filing our permit early next year. So we're doing things the right way. The market's discounted this asset to zero. So I think it's a wonderful piece of optionality for investors buying the stock today.
Yeah, lots of blue sky opportunity here, but we got a few more to touch base on. What's going on with the project in Guyana here?
So this is our fourth asset. Like all of our projects, it has the potential to do 200,000 ounces a year. Our projects are big, they're chunky. This is a 10 million ounce super pit. It's almost shovel ready. Guyana is a very interesting country. One of the smallest populations, less than 1 million people, but they've just made this wonderful oil discovery that's driving a lot of infrastructure. This infrastructure is going to make it easier for us to build a mine. This is the earliest stage of our assets, so we need to do a little bit more study. We're going to publish a new pre-feasibility next year, but again, it gives us a footprint and a beachhead outside of Colombia in an emerging geological belt. So if you look at the PEA, numbers that jump out to me are 24-year mine life. Asset will do 225,000 ounces a year. Initial capex is very modest. We might see the capex go up a little bit. I mean, this the study's a bit outdated and it's only a PEA, but I think a project that anyone would be happy to have on the books.
Great to hear. And then finally here you have the Juby project. You want to just add the cherry on top of the cake?
Yeah, this is our easy Canadian project. So we're up in the Abitibi. This is where Agnico, IAMGOLD, these guys built their businesses. It's not a focus for us. We think if Juby was on its own in a separate company, it could have a $60 million market cap. We certainly don't get that credit. So we might look to spin this out. It's not a focus for us, but certainly will have some value to someone else.
Yeah, it's great to hear. You guys are kind of expanding pretty rapidly. Do you want to just give a brief insight into kind of the operating profile and some of the comparables here?
Yeah, I think if you look at the gold space, you've got the big guys, Barrick, Newmont, producing 4 million ounces a year. That's a tough job replacing those resources year after year. Okay, then you have the juniors that are binary, they're dependent on exploration. We're in that sweet spot, in the growthy mid-tier group, which I think is the most attractive segment of the market. If you look at our inventory, we're right next to Equinox in terms of how much gold we have in the ground. If you look at our balance sheet, we've got one of the best balance sheets and funding profiles in the space. But what really sets us apart is our growth profile. So I mentioned Marmota. As soon as we have the permit, it's shovels in the ground. Then we bring on Toroparu. So our 3-year growth profile is the best in the space, or at least amongst the peer group. So we're really a growth story.
Incredible to hear. And just kind of finishing up, I mean, the gold story is really blowing up right now, whether you're talking about China or some of these other countries that have been really stacking gold aggressively over the last few years. And just, even though the gold prices are suppressed, we're still in the upper bearing levels where, gold mining, silver, precious metals become incredibly profitable here. Do you want to just give a quick insight into why investors should be paying attention to what's going on with Aris?
Yeah, I think the world's changed. We've had 10 years of free money. Okay, the Fed is raising rates at the most aggressive level in history. I don't believe you can do that without consequences. We're going to see a potential housing market crash. I believe the US is in or headed to a recession. When that happens and they pivot, a lot of smart money, including Michael Burry, is talking about gold as a great hedge, right? So if I'm an investor, I want to protect against that event, but I want to pick a stock that has cash, which we do, has a large resource in the ground, which we do, that is managed by proven mining veterans, which we are, that provides asymmetric risk. We own our stock. We own 6% of the company. We paid around $4.50 a share. If you buy the stock today, you're making money before the management team. So this gives you asymmetric protection for an event like that. And so I would say just keep watching interest rates. It's going to be an interesting 6 months. And so I think Aris ticks a lot of boxes for guys and girls looking for protection in that scenario.
Great to hear. And just as a note too, I'd argue that there's better value in the cash flow of gold for miners that are trading at these wicked discounted levels versus actually buying the precious metals themselves when you compare to the gold discovered in the ground, right? Let alone the operations and the cost and cash flow those things are going to generate. But I'll pass the question off to the viewers. We'd love to know what you guys think about all this in that comment section below. We'll leave the link to their website so you guys can go over the presentation if you'd like as well in the description below. But stay cool, stay awesome. And as always, we look forward to catching you in the next one.